evening, good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome. My name is Joy Ruffen, and you are tuned in to Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies, Living Legacies. It's always good to be with you every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. We're asking you to tag your friends, to share this video, because tonight we have a guest that you're going to enjoy because of all of the knowledge, the wisdom, the insight, inspiration that she's going to bring to us. Our guest tonight is Nancy Ferrara. She is an attorney at the law offices of Travis R. Walker in Stuart, Florida. She graduated from, all of this is not important because I want you to know that she is really about women and focusing in on their femininity and all that they're about. She now focuses her practice on estate administrations, estate planning, guardianship, wills and trusts, including pet trust. I love that. That's becoming big. And planning for loved ones with special needs. Her passion is what brings her to us. For creating change in the community is what inspired her to become a lawyer and founded the group Women Empowered, a fellowship of women in Martin and Palm Beach counties. Nancy brings us a lot of information, a lot of tools. I'm going to ask you to welcome her, and then we'll get going. So I'm bringing Nancy into the show right here and now. Hello, Nancy, and welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to see you here.
Wonderful to see you. Thank you for having me. I'm so thrilled to be with you.
Well, it's my honor and my pleasure. These are adjectives that I use a lot, but believe me, I use them because they fit. First off, I botched up a little bit of your bio only because I want you to share with us a little bit about you, your beginning, your middle, and now, and then we'll take it from there. Share with us. Tell us a little bit about you, what you're doing now, and why you're doing, and why you have this passion for what you're doing.
Well, Joy, I always thought when I was a little girl that I was going to grow up and be a lawyer and change the world. And you know that we can't change the world all at once. We have to do it in little bites, all right? How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But I've realized that I can't change the whole world, but I can change my corner. Yes. And there are so many women who are so accomplished, and I've met so many experienced, generous, kind women who've gone through transition. And even though they're accomplished in their lifetimes, as you know, sad as it is, our society measures success by money. And there's so many things that we do, especially as nurturers. Generally, it's the women who stay home, raise the children. Nurturing is a wonderful, wonderful avocation. And I've done it, and I wouldn't give it up for anything. However, that being said, in the world, women who stay home and take care of their children are not valued because they don't generate income. We can produce all the great members of society that we want, but we ourselves are now behind the 8 ball. And by the way, when we go back to work, we really don't catch up. We are generally, and I'm speaking generally, and in my opinion, we are generally paid 20% less for the same work in this comparable positions, right? And you don't have to take my word for it. It's the Fair Labor Board that has come up with these statistics, and I was frankly shocked when I started looking at this. The fact is that once we go back to work, we never catch up. We don't catch up in our lifetimes. And frankly, it will take about 100 years to equalize the pay differential in the United States.
Yes. I hear you loud and clear, and I like that. Nancy, let me say before we go any further, because I can see we're going to go into the thick and the good. Let me put this disclaimer out here, because this is really, really important. And I want everyone who's tuning in to be aware of this, because it's really important. Nothing herein that we'll be sharing should be construed as legal advice. This video does not create a lawyer-client relationship. Each situation is different, and you should consult with an attorney to discuss your particular situation. I wanted to say that in the beginning, and I want to say that in the end because that's important. But what I love, Nancy, and I want you to speak to this because you gave me the topic for today, which is so impactful and really connects and ties in with what you just said. Change happens one woman at a time. And what you're going to be speaking about here and now is how we can regain our feminine power. And it starts with figuring out how we lost it in the first place. You just take that and run with that. Good for you.
Oh, okay, I will do that. Well, we fought long and hard for our rights, and
Yes.
I don't know if you remember that perfume commercial. I can bring home the bacon, fry it up in a pan, and never let you forget you're a man.
Peggy
So
Lee.
what have we done to ourselves, right? We have fought for the right to go to work and then come home and do all the nurturing stuff that we do. So we've gained a lot, but we also give up our power in a lot of ways. We are trained as women, if we're going to be feminine, we don't talk about money, we don't handle money, we don't invest money because that's not feminine.
Yes.
We don't demand what we're due. So there are a lot of things that women need to know and that I try to empower women with. And I think having some knowledge of the law imposes on me as an attorney a duty to explain that to people in plain English, because frankly, it's confusing. There are some things about Florida law that are very interesting. And I know that people bandy about the term homesteading. We could talk for days about homesteading. But whether the legislature intended it or not,
Mm-hmm.
Florida law does favor marriage, and it favors the spouse who's the non-earning spouse. And that comes into play with homesteading. It comes into play with the Unlawful Death Act. And there are ways that women can accept that, integrate that into their lives. You don't have to get married. You don't have to accept the institution. And I know the younger generation does not believe in marriage because they think it's old-fashioned. It's for us. There are a lot of advantages to marriage.
I love what you sent me here. You said the law works for you if you know how to use it.
Exactly.
And recognizing how the Florida legislation encourages marriages might be the catalyst for you to consider marriage over cohabitation. So that's a biggie. And that's what you're speaking to now. Tell us a little bit more about that, because you're so right about the younger generation. They have, for whatever reason, and I feel I understand it somewhat, they have put marriage on the back burner.
Yes. They're rebelling against it. It's an old institution. It's outdated. I get it. But consider this. You're living with a man or a partner, and your name is not on the deed. Your name is not on the lease. You're just living there. And you come home one day, and he or she may have someone there. You are a house guest. You're the house pet. They can change the locks, and you are a trespasser.
Yes.
And women don't realize that. Or they'll go into a transaction with a partner without some kind of an understanding. They'll buy a house together. Oh my gosh, and now, we're going to live in romance land for the rest of our lives. We're so happy. What could happen? Famous last words. Well, what could happen? You split up, you hate each other 6 months later, and the next thing you know, you're being served with a partition action. Like, oh my gosh, how did this happen? Well, knowledge is power. I know that cohabitation agreements are not sexy. I know that prenuptial agreements are not sexy. They kill the romance. But you have to get over that, because there are ways that we have to protect ourselves. You can't be naive, and you can't ignore the facts. And whenever you go into some kind of a relationship that changes your status, something that you're not sure about, see a lawyer. We're here for you. We understand the law. We will explain it to you. And I know that most people really don't like to see lawyers until something happens, something bad happens. It's true.
It's true. I'm chuckling here, Nancy, because you mentioned one of the words that I bring into almost every broadcast that I do, and that's sexy. I add hot and sexy to it a lot of times. And when you said that the view today about marriage is not sexy, it made me chuckle, because it's true. And also it made me come back to what you said about how important it is about regaining our feminine power. It starts with figuring out how we lost it in the first place. So my question to you, how did we lose it? What happened?
It's interesting. I haven't truly figured that out. I think we've lost it because we want to be seen as feminine. we don't want to be seen as aggressive, because when women take charge, they're seen as, oh, she's kind of, excuse my French, she's bitchy, or she's, when men take charge, they're seen as being in control, and that's a masculine quality. So we want to be seen as feminine. And when we go home and take care of our children, we do end up a little behind the 8 ball. But then we don't take that power back. And so when we go to get married, if you're planning to stay home and raise children, you should have something in your prenup that says what will happen should the marriage fail, because there has to be a calculation that acknowledges that there's a gap, the pay gap, and it will allow for catch up. And if you're getting divorced, you know, most judges are very smart, and they do an equitable distribution. So you may get 50-50 of, you know, whatever you've accumulated during the marriage.
Yeah.
But then there has to be a calculation of alimony, acknowledging that we are not going to catch up. We don't have as many years in the workforce, so we're not going to catch up as far as salary goes. And there has to be calculation there. So if you're planning on getting divorced, make sure that your matrimonial attorney understands that, and you work with an accountant or a forensic accountant, someone who's going to do the calculation that's going to get you caught up to where your spouse is. Because the spouse that goes to work and doesn't stay home and raise children doesn't lose that time in the workforce, doesn't lose that experience. But the person who stays home, whether it's the husband or the wife, usually it's the women, they lose that, and it's a gap. And we do not catch up during our lifetimes.
Well, Nancy, this is one of the reasons that I say personal development and personal growth for everyone, but especially for women, is so important, because once you begin to get that inner sense of confidence, healthy self-esteem, and a sense and a value of who you are and your own power and the greatness within you, then you don't shy away from a prenup. You're confident enough within yourself to speak to that, and they can see the love in your eyeballs and your actions. So it's a double edge in many ways, but we rule, we rock. That's not to deny a gent. We need them. We cannot survive without them. So all of these valuable points that you're bringing out, they're really, really significant, because change happens one woman at a time. I love the topic that you chose, because we all need to be more about going inside to discover who we are, so that we can be more within ourselves to do what we know we need to do. And however, in whatever type of relationship you have to be aware of the legal ramifications. There's no question about that.
Exactly. But we also need to support each other, and we need a connection. And so to that end, I have founded a group of women called Women Empowered.
I wanted to speak to that next. Yes.
Yes. And it's been groundswell. There is a need amongst our community of women who want to connect with each other in transition, to support each other and to have that connection and be empowered by that and have support through that and share their experiences. And so the other prong of that mission, which has been so amazing, is that we are now reaching down to the next generation to raise the next young leaders up by showing them how to fill out a job application, how to dress for a job interview, why to write a thank you note. So it's a conversation that I'm really starting between the generations. And it's not just talking to our generation about, oh my gosh, don't we have problems? Aren't we awful? But it's going outside of ourselves, serving the next generation and bringing them up and giving them a sense of community, a sense of the value of volunteerism at an early age, and to see that that pays them in the long run.
I love that. I cannot tell you how much I love that, because that's right on point with the title for this broadcast, for this Facebook group that I've created, because it's up to us, our generation, 10, 20 ahead or behind, to embrace and engage the younger generation so they are aware of all the potential and power that they have, because it's there. I love what you're doing with the group. You started this group when again?
just in October.
Ah,
And it's
and
growing.
that's wonderful. Are you involved with any other community organizational groups outside of your, like I volunteer with the Fort Pierce Juvenile Detention Center, the PACE Center for Girls and places like that. Are you bringing in groups and organizations and community groups like that that can support and help you with what you're doing?
Actually, I am.
That's wonderful.
I've started a partnership with the Boys and Girls Club to take young women and bring them to the assisted living facilities. And so we are going to start a dialogue of 3 generations. And I realized that I owe it to my forebears. You know, I've met women who are attorneys in their 90s, and I have such gratitude because they paved the way for me to be able to have an easier time in law school. And I can only imagine what they have been through. And I think it's only through understanding and starting that dialogue that our young women understand really how far we've come and what the imperative is, and that it's on their shoulders to be noble, to be ladylike, to be forceful, and also to be feminine, and to mine that great, great wealth of knowledge and experience, because we're there for them. And you know what? They give back to us as well.
I absolutely am over the moon with that because, in fact, my husband and I were saying the other night, they should build assisted living homes and nursing homes right next to schools and places where kids go to learn, because the dialogue between the old and the young would be phenomenal for both. And that's what you're doing in a different way. But that's great. Listen, tell me a little bit about you've already mentioned a little bit, but tell us a little bit more about your background, your experience, and why you love what you're doing. You spoke to it briefly, but share a little bit more in depth about that. Your background, why you love what you're doing, and what it's doing for you and for others.
Well, I practice in the areas of estate planning and probate. And, you know, estate planning is not about planning for death. It's about planning for life. And there are so many things in life that you can't control, but you can plan for those things that you can control. And it is so inspiring for me. It is so gratifying for me. When my clients walk out, we hug, we kiss, we laugh, we cry, and it's wonderful because I feel like I've taken something off their shoulders and they go on with their life. You know, what if, you know, and we joke about pet trusts because they seem a little silly, but they're really not, because we assume, and especially the folks I speak to who are in assisted living, they assume that their niece, granddaughter will take care of their beloved little Fluffy, which is a grand idea, except that usually that pet becomes bonded to one person. And I've had experience with this, and very sadly had to give a dog back that I adopted, who apparently had belonged to an older lady. It was very sad because the dog loved me, but bit everybody else. Actually, the dog bit everybody I ever dated, so that was kind of a problem. But this is the issue. Had that dog gone to someone else, the first time it bit someone, that dog would have been probably destroyed. So I do work with a charity that rehomes these kinds of pets who lose their owner to death, disability, or deployment. And this trainer actually can retrain a biter. And had I had this woman when I had to give my little Peppy back, he might not have ended up at the foster home. He would have ended up, you know, in a home or back with me. And that's a sad thing. But it serves both. It serves the owner and it serves the charity, because it's a very easy move to set aside a small portion of your estate or your life insurance or whatever to care for your pet. And that way you know that the pet's cared for. If there is a remainder after that, then the charity gets a donation. And so it's incentivized both ways. And that's just one little tool. There are so many wonderful tools in the law that if you're aware of them, if someone explains them to you and knows how to use them, can help you plan for your life, can help you achieve your goals, can help you with your homesteading goals, can help you with your financial goals and your needs. And that's one of the most gratifying things that I do during my day.
I love that. And I love that because we have so many words in our language that we have such a big misconception about. And what you just said about estate planning and what I'm thinking about when people think of legacy, they think of after the fact. And there's so much more that goes into that. Nancy, tell us, what's the secret to success that you now know that everyone in the audience needs to know? That's a good one.
I can't tell you all the secrets. No one sees behind the curtain. But one of my big secrets is a learned naivete. And I practice that. And the reason I do that, I heard a story once about people who go to a new town to start a business are more successful than people who live there because they don't know what they can't do. And so they go and do it. So when I have a goal, something I want to achieve, I drown the noise. I drown out the noise. I start from the end. I start from envisioning myself doing that thing and work backwards because then I don't know what I can't do. And if I don't know what I can't do, what's stopping me?
Wow, that's powerful. That's powerful. I have to say, Nancy, we have a few of your friends out here. And
Oh.
I don't know if you can see Sam DeFilippo, and we have Stephen Ashwood,
Oh.
and Liebergott, Lumberg. We have quite a few of your fans here. So thank you all for being here. It's delightful to see you here. And they're all saying, she says, I work with Nancy and she's absolutely knows what she's talking about. Well, we have no doubt about that, Stephen. we don't deny or have a question mark about that at all. And Sam says she's sensitive and compassionate with her clients and aggressive in making the law work for them. What a wonderful accolade that is. Let me see if I can get him. So Nancy, every time I put up the scroll across, because you're sitting back, and this is something else I'll know next time to put into my guest package, back far enough from the screen. So every time I put something up, it covers your face. And we don't want that to happen. When you see the video in the rerun, you'll know exactly what I mean. So I'm not leaving it up for very long because I don't want to close out your face. And I want to say welcome to everyone who's here. Thank you for coming. It's always good to see you here and to see you supporting your friend, because we're all about relationship building here. We're about community and family and feminine power, and we can't do it without the gents. So thank you for being here. And don't forget to share this video and make comments at the end before we finish up here. Nancy, a couple of other questions. What's a great tip now that you know that you wish you had known earlier? What is a tip that you know now that you wish you had known a little bit earlier?
Take more risks.
I love it. Yes.
There are no mistakes. There are no mistakes. The only mistake is not doing something. You can always, someone very wise once said to me, you can always change direction, but you won't get anywhere until you put your sails up. So put your sails up. Your ship can always change direction.
You know what I like? The brilliance in simplicity. Succinct and to the point. Take more risk in whatever it is that you're doing. Well, I don't know about you, Nancy, but I'm risking here because technology blows me away. And so do you. You guys don't know, but Nancy and I had some issues prior to the show, but Nancy just hopped right out, did what she had to do, came right back because I didn't have the answers for her. And here she is, and you can hear us both. And this is wonderful, delicious, and delightful. So you take advice.
I hope my office administrator is watching because I do have issues with technology at work.
Well, listen, I do too, but I like your comment to us and your suggestion because it is about taking risk. It is about taking risk and not being afraid to make if necessary, a fool of yourself because you just get up and brush yourself off and start over again. Tell us more about what you'll be doing next, what you're thinking about doing next. What's on your calendar in the future for something that you're planning? I know you have the group and it's rather new, but what are some of the next things that you have on your calendar that you're in the process of working with?
Well, I've been writing a blog.
How exciting.
It's called Nancy Knows. And
Yeah.
if she doesn't, she'll find out. And it's going to be an opportunity for people to ask me questions and to write in and give their situations. And it's going to be more or less an Ann Landers type of format, very informative, humorous, entertaining. And so be on the lookout for that.
Not only will I be on the lookout for that, Nancy, but if you are in agreement with that, I would like to be able to cross-post your blog on my website and vice versa. We'll work something out. I think we can form a good joint venture, a partnership here, and it'll be great. You know, the time just flies here. I don't know where it goes. I say that each and every week, but it goes fast. I really work to keep this between 20 and 30 minutes max. We're already at 25. So I don't know if there's anyone here who has, by the way, let me just say this. If there's anyone here who has a question for Nancy, please feel free to type it in the comments. And what we'll do is address that comment. But in the meantime, while you're thinking about that, I'm going to put up Nancy's information, and it's going to cover her face. I'll leave it up for just a short while while she's thinking, but I want you to know that this is the firm that she's at. And by the way, all of this will be put on the website, YouTube, and Joyce TV so that you can access this and share this with your friends, loved ones. And I also like to add in, if you have any enemies, a few of them, you can add it. You can show it to them too as well. Now, is there anything, Nancy, that I didn't ask you that you want to share with us? Is there any information other than what you shared? Anything at all about your work and what you're doing, your law firm? It's your show, whatever you want to say.
Well, thank you. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that my office covers the gamut: marriage, divorce, litigation, estate planning. So if you have a question, if there's something troubling you, if you're about to have a life change, anytime that you are experiencing a life change, if you have a child, a grandchild, there's a death in the family, there's always the law that's going to touch you in some way, shape, or form. It doesn't hurt to be informed. It doesn't hurt to ask a question. You know, you can come in, ask a question. The consultation is free of charge. Most attorneys, they don't charge you unless they work for you. And you don't know if you have an issue unless you have an issue. And it doesn't hurt. Knowledge is power. Ask the questions. Don't be afraid. We don't bite.
I love that. I love that. You can't beat that. I mean, and consultation, complimentary, to ascertain whether or not it's for you, because not everyone is for you. The personalities have to match, and they have to be in sync, and you don't have to be in this like-minded is good, but you also need a few people every now and then who disagree and keep you sharp. So that being said, I think the way you express that is more than succinct, and people will get that. Before we say so long for now, this topic, Nancy, change happens one woman at a time. You spoke to it a wee bit, and when you said take more risk. But what are some of the other ways that women can be more in sync and in tune with how they are best, contingent upon all the variables, to go about making change in their lives? How would you address that to the woman because we're talking about women who are trailblazers, women who are purpose-driven, agents of change, heart-centered leaders and cosmic healers. And we all encompass 1, 2, 3, some of us, all of those. But basically, you're a leading lady, I'm a leading lady, and all of the people out there, men and women, because the men out there, the gents who are tuning in, they're leading too. So what suggestion do you give to a woman who wants to begin to make change in her life? That's not an easy question, but I think you can handle it.
I would say connect. Know that you're not alone, and connect. I never realized what other women have gone through and overcome until I gathered these women in a room who have reinvented themselves. I thought I was the only one, frankly. And then I walked into a room full of women who have survived abuse, death in the family, financial ruin, all kinds of health challenges, and they come in and they're strong and they're happy and they're giving and they're generous. And frankly, it makes me feel so overwhelmed because there's so much in that room. And when I first met those women, I thought, well, I can't waste this talent. Can't waste this talent. And that's what inspired me to start reaching down to the next generation, because they have so much to give and they're so generous. But in that giving is where they get strength and the energy to change and the confidence to change and the self-worth. It's fabulous. You must join us.
I hope to. I hope to. And thank you for the invite. Nancy, what I like, everything that you said there, but somehow, somewhere along the way, I had it at one time as well. We think we're alone. We think it's just us and no one else has this concern, this issue, this necessary sometimes problem, but we're never alone. Exactly. So that kind of counseling is so important in bringing women together. That's why for me and having you here, it's my pleasure, because leading ladies, leaving legacies, living legacies, connecting and joining together, that's what I'm about. That's what you're about in a different way. And together, before we leave the planet, it will be way beyond embryo. It will be way beyond infancy. It will go on and on and on. And that's what we want. Now, Nancy, is there anything that I didn't ask you that you want to speak to, or is there anything you want to ask me before we say so long for now?
Oh my gosh, there's so much. Where do I start? I just want the females, the women in the audience to know that there is hope, there is light. I know that we're at a very difficult time now. The Me Too, it's a great movement, and it's only the beginning, though. It's only the start. Yes. We've come so far, but we have so far to go. But yes. Together, Joy, we're mighty.
Absolutely. I, for some reason, have always known that. And because of the background that I had, and somewhat, it's always different, but there's a key connecting there. I always knew that the beauty of our essence was to be connected and united and supportive of each other. And that's why it's always a pleasure for me to meet and to chat and to share and exchange with women like you and all the other women who've come here and set to share what they're about. So I say thank you. I'm grateful. I say thank you to all of those in the audience, because what we're going to do, I said it before, but I'm going to say it again, we're going to take this and put all the information so that if you want to connect with Nancy, you'll be able to. And if you have any questions, she's going to welcome and embrace them and assist and guide you in the best way that she can. This I know. When it comes to loyalty and honesty and all of that good stuff, it's here in this one mighty package. So don't hesitate. In the meantime, Nancy, it has been interesting. It has been inspirational. It has been fun and all the other good adjectives. I thank you for being here.
Thank you, Joy. It's been my pleasure.
My pleasure. I'm going to ask you and put you to the side here for just a moment while I say goodbye, but don't go, because I'm going to come back and say a little goodbye and a welcome goodbye to you. Not a welcome goodbye, a goodbye that won't be a welcome. I get a little tongue-tied when I get excited. But anyway, hold on. Well, did that happen and go quickly? Yes, it did. It always goes too quickly. For all of you that I've not met before and that I don't know, thank you for coming. It's been my pleasure and my honor to see and to have you here. Unfortunately, for a lot of different reasons, I wasn't able to put up all of these wonderful names to show, because now you said I'm watching, just so you can see, and Nancy will be able to see this after the fact, because I didn't want to cover up Nancy's beautiful face. So I didn't want to put this up. I'm used to sitting up high, and if you cover mine, it's okay. But I want her to be able to see the people who were here, and then all of the others who will be here as well. So let me just say that Leading Ladies, Leaving Legacies is all about what Nancy expressed. It's about us coming together and uniting to support, aid, assist each other, because we're much more impactful and empowered when we work together as a unit, as a team. So when I say that you're all leading ladies, and for the gents as well, be mindful of your position and your place and the legacy that you want to leave, and be open to standing in your power and your greatness. Don't be afraid to shine. Nancy said, don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's okay. God knows we've made plenty here, but we just keep on. And that's what you have to do. So you be well. You take care. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday night at 7 p.m. And until we connect the next time, all the best always from this end.